This is Andy Purewal for Boxing Social in association with Betfred, and I'm delighted to be joined by Jose Haro over Zoom. Jose, first and foremost, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Just actually just got off work not too long ago, and now I'm home and watching two of my kids.
Obviously, on babysitting duty there. How's it going?
Good. Here's one. His name's Miles, and then the other one's over there making a mess. But I'm gonna get him after this interview.
We've obviously got a fair bit to touch on. We'll come on to family life shortly, but let's start off with a boxing talk. You made a very, I saw your speech. It was an emotional and a heartfelt speech about your decision to retire from the sport. Just reflect and just open up for those who haven't seen as to why you've taken that decision, Jose.
I mean, there was a lot to do with this fight. I mean, with this my decision. A lot of people don't know, but when I fought this guy named Daniel Franco for the IBF USBA title, I ended up winning the fight, and he was in a coma after the fight, after the knockout, and so that's always been in the back of my head. Not like between the stuff that happened, me and Franco we had a job to do. So yeah, what happened. I felt bad, and it was horrible. But that was always in the back of my mind. Like, shit, Louis, stop. I was like, shoot, man. Like, what if this happens to me? I got 7 kids, and people see us fight. They see us fight on TV, and people see that you're a professional boxer, so right off the bat they assume you're making tons of money. And reality is that most of us fighters don't make that much money at all, and a lot of us have to work a full-time job. Like myself, a lot of people didn't know that I worked, that all I did was boxing, and some of us do box full-time, and some of them have get everything paid, like their rent, their bills, everything's paid, so they can focus on training. While a lot of us, like myself, we still have to work to pay our bills, and obviously we fight for the love of the sport, but we also fight because we have that big hope of landing a big payday. And unfortunately, a lot of us don't get that. And no matter who you fight, it just doesn't come. But when I was in training camp for this fight, my oldest daughter, she's 13, and she talked to me one-on-one, and I never really had these conversations with my kids. And she spoke to me, and she just told me that she was that why am I fighting? And I told her my reasons, and I was like, I want to leave a good legacy, and I want people to remember me, that I fight anybody they put in front of me. And in reality, I wanted to tell her that's true what I told her, but I want to tell her I'm trying to get some money. I'm trying to make a lot of money so we can live comfortable, so you guys can get a good step in this life, I hit a little, but so she just told me, she just said that she doesn't understand what I need to fight. I'm already a champion. I don't need to prove anything. And it hit me, like, obviously, like, I wanted to cry, but I wanted to be tough for her. And she told me that she was worried that the Franco situation might happen to me. And then she also said that she stresses that every time I have a fight, that what if I leave the house and never come home? And I told her I was being strong. I told her that stuff wouldn't happen to me because I'm too good. And my 2 younger daughters, they overheard, and they talked to me too, and they just told me the same thing. And my 7-year, well, she'll be 8 soon. My 8-year-old, we call her Nugget, and she can't even tell me because she'll just start crying. But they tell me all the time, they're like, "Dad, you're a champion. I don't understand what you got to fight." I'm like, "Just be our soccer coach." And so a few days later, I speak to my wife about what happened, the talk that I had with my girls, and Louis, go over there, mijo. And sorry about that. And uh, so I told my wife, and my wife told me, she's like, I've known this. I just never wanted to tell you because I didn't want to stress you out right before your fight. And she told me her concerns too. She's in nursing school. She's going to graduate this December. If everything goes as planned, she should graduate this December. But she's been going to school for 3.5 years, and she's learning a lot, obviously, about the brain, and she's learning everything about the body, obviously. And she did tell me too. She's like, "I will always be your number one fan. I love you. I will support you no matter what. But we are getting older, and what if something did happen to you?" I'm like, "You can't leave me here with 7 kids." And obviously that broke my heart. Yeah. And anyways, yeah, she just told me her concerns, and I just kept training. But for like the past few weeks, that was just in the back of my head. And I just kept training hard. Obviously, when I'm in camp, I train. I don't bullshit. I was training super hard. And then I get a phone call, and they tell me that they rescheduled the fight. And once once they told me that, I was just telling myself, "Man, are these signs? Is this like my kids had never talked to me?" And my wife was she's always supported me, but and then they changed the fight, and then I just felt like these were all signs telling me to just walk away before it's too late. And I have always told my wife, even when I started boxing, when I started my professional career, I told my wife, "Don't ever let me be that fighter that lets boxing retire him. Let me walk. You tell me when it's time to walk away. I don't want to be that fighter that it's too late, and then by the end of his career, he's not there." Hey, and hold on, I'm on the phone. And and then I just kept thinking about this fight, and I'm like, beating Masayo. I'm like, it's great. It's another title. I'm happy and I'm grateful for these opportunities. But there was like, what's the guarantee? Am I going to get a title shot? Am I going to make more money? There's just no guarantees. And then, a lot of people don't understand, like, if you get paid 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, you still have to pay your taxes. And well, here in America, like, you pay taxes. I'm not sure in other countries, but you have to pay 25%. It just all depends on your state and stuff like that. And but it's roughly, I think, around 20 to 25%. Then your manager's fee, and the manager fee, it could be from 33% to 25% to 20%. It just all depends on what you and your manager agree on. So, and then you have to pay your manager, your coach, 10%. And then all the little stuff, you have to pay the cut man and stuff like that. So for fighting for 10,000, you're probably gonna walk away maybe with half. Fighting for 20,000, you're probably gonna walk away with half. So I just I thought about it and I was like, man, is it really worth me keep getting in that ring and continue to take long-term damage for such a little reward, you know? And obviously, if I was making like half $1 million, it's different because worst case scenario, if something did happen to me, at least I'll know with that money that I made for that fight, my wife can pay off the house, and that would take huge pressure off her. And she's able. It will suck though because she will have to raise 7 kids on her own, but at least you don't have to worry about that mortgage. But I'm not. Unfortunately, I'm not in. I'm not making that type of money. And after I made my decision to retire, my wife told me, because she was the one recording, and she told me, she's like, I can tell you don't want to retire. And I'm like, because you're getting emotional. And I'm like, shit, babe, I've been doing this for like 20 plus years. It's something that I love and I've been doing for such a long time. But it breaks my heart because I know it's the end of my career. And of course, I'm still going to train just to stay fit, but it breaks my heart just to know that I'm not going to be competing at a high level anymore.
Jose, there's a lot to pick up on there that you've just spoken about. Obviously, it's more than understandable from a family's perspective and what your family's said to you about, you know, the health and well-being, that you've got to look out for yourself before anything else. Going back to the fight with Daniel, how much has that played on your mind since it happened back in 2017? Has that been like a constant throughout?
Yeah, it's always been in the back of my head. Just because I'm like, not what happened, Franco. Yeah, it's sad and it's horrible. Like we're in there to compete. We're both trying to knock each other out, but we're not trying to hurt each other to that point. But it's been in the back of my head. Because that could possibly be me, you know, or any fighter. And it's always been in the back of my head, like, shoot, like if you keep fighting, like this might happen to you. And like I said, I have 7 kids, and that's what it's just, it gets harder. Like it's always been in the back of my head, and I really, like, it did bother me. But once my kids talked to me about it, that's when it really hit me. And I was like, shoot, like maybe it's time, you know. Maybe they're seeing, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, my head's been going everywhere ever since they talked to me. And then my wife spoke to me about it. And maybe, yeah, I want to remember my kids. I want to get old. I want them to have their babies. I want to have grandkids. I just want to enjoy life. And, yeah.
Since the announcement video, Jose, how much has it played on your mind, the fact knowing that you've retired? Have you still kind of, when you have been training, have you been looking at yourself thinking, like, oh, do I want to get back in the ring? Is it still kind of fresh on you, or how are you feeling?
Yeah, we're still kind of new. I just took the week off because so I had, like, when I started training camp, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday I will go to the gym, and then Sunday we'll go run up in the mountains, and then Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday I'll train from home. And I just took a week off. This whole week I have just been kind of like eating kind of crappy because I was on a diet, so I've been eating like hot Cheetos and ice cream again, and I have a lot of my I don't know if you can see, like,
Yeah, we can.
I look at my, oh, sorry, mijo, and then I look at my accomplishments and I'm like, I did okay, you know, like I'm okay with what I did. And I fought a lot of these fighters that their job was boxing, and I worked with what I could, and yeah, it does break my heart because I'm like, shoot, I see some of these guys, fight obviously on TV, and I'm like, I know I can beat them and stuff like that, but I'm just happy at least because long term, I really don't know what kind of effects I'm gonna have once I'm older, and I hope nothing. I really do hope nothing, but there are some times when I forget things, and I don't know if that's because I'm getting older. I'm 33, or it's because of boxing. Because my wife, there's times when she tells me, or my kids are like, "Dad, you told me this already," and I'm like, "No, I didn't." And my wife will come in, she's like, "Yes, you did, babe. You said this about 5 times already, and we're tired of it." And I'm like, "Shit." So I'm starting to get worried about my own health. But yeah.
Earlier on, Jose, you mentioned the money aspect or money side of things. When you reflect on your career, especially what you achieved as an amateur, do you feel hard done by? Do you feel like the sport hasn't rewarded you justly, or what you haven't been given what you should have, or what you deserve from the sport and the years that you've given to it?
Yeah, I feel like I accomplished a lot. Like in the amateurs, I was in the junior Olympic team. Even when I was obviously competing in an adult, in the amateurs, every time we find tournaments, or I find tournaments, I always place high, and then the pros. It's like I feel like I had a great career. It was a roller coaster, but I had a great career. Just financially, it was not good. It was horrible, and it's just like life. It's not fair. Boxing's not fair. Life's not fair. And when there's an opportunities, you just take it. But sometimes those opportunities don't work out what you think is going to happen. And luckily, I never needed boxing to pay for my mortgage and stuff like that, or for my kids' clothes. I always had a job, and but and also, like, if you have the right people, the opportunities for you to make it and make good money in boxing are very high. And there's a lot of fighters like myself that don't have those opportunities. They're skillful. They can be world champions. They just don't have the right people, or they just had, or they sometimes they just had bad people in their corner. But yeah.
Moving forwards, Jose, and just considering kind of a next step for yourself, what do you think life now holds for you beyond boxing, and how much of a close eye will you be keeping on the sport?
Well, to be honest with you, like a lot of people don't know this, but I really don't watch boxing too much. Like I really don't. Like when there's big fights, yeah, I'll get and I'll watch the fights and stuff like that. But I never really, like, even when I had like my opponents, when I had a fight coming up, I would never ever watch their fights ever. Like I'll watch a clip, like 10 seconds, and that will tell me enough. Okay, he's a counter puncher. He likes to fight backwards, so he's aggressive. But that's all I need to know. Like I don't like to watch their videos, because I just feel like it's not my style, and I just feel like, oh, let's say this guy has a great right hand. I feel like I'm just gonna focus on the right hand, and what about his left hook? So that's why I just never really watch boxing too much. Big fights I will, like the Lomachenko fight and the Lopez fight coming up. I'm like, okay, I'm interested in watching that type of fight. But I don't know. I guess I always told my dad, I'm like, Dad, you should have made me play golf or a tennis player or a singer or something easier on the head. And boxing, I just became really good at it. And obviously, it's my passion. I love it. I just never really liked watching it too much because I just felt like I put myself in these fighters' shoes too much, and like I don't know. And yeah, and then my kids now, like only one of my kids so far, it's into boxing, and that's Louis. That's my 3-year-old. But the rest of my kids, they want nothing to do with boxing.
That's going to be my final question to you, Jose. You obviously you got a big family. You've got a number. You've got 6 kids, I believe, and 1 on the way.
Yes.
If they were to turn around to you and say, "Dad, I want to go into boxing," what would be your view on it?
So, say that again. Sorry.
If one of your children, or if multiple of children of yours turned around and said, "Dad, I want to take up boxing. I want to go into the sport," what would be your view on it?
Uh, that's that's kind of hard because it's just there's not a lot of money. Like for certain fighters, that there's gonna be a lot of money, but it's tough. Like I'm always gonna support my kids. I'm gonna train them. I'm gonna always train my kids so they can defend themselves. But if they really want to do it, I'm gonna support them in any way that I can, and I'm gonna train them. But I would tell them to choose a different road, you know, and yeah, I'm like, just choose a different road. But if obviously if my kids are super good, really good, then the potential's there, and we can make like the Olympics, or if they get signed in the amateurs, then yeah, like their chances of making it and making decent money, then it's there. But if not, I'm gonna be real with them and tell them, look, you didn't get signed by nobody. As even if you pull upsets, you you might not get those opportunities. So it's just a tough sport. I mean, it's just a tough business, should I say, to make a living. And yeah, bro.
Jose, we'll leave it there. And I appreciate your time tonight. Well, tonight here, obviously, I think it's morning time where you are. I'll leave a final word to yourself, though. For obviously, everybody who's tuned in throughout your career, what would you like to say to them?
Oh, look, this is my little son. He's already out, sleepy. I want to say, look, man, if you want to continue, I mean, if you want to fight, great, do it. You follow your heart, and you gotta train hard. But my advice to future fighters, because I remember when I was 17, I was I was 16, and I was in the junior Olympic team. And every time I find the amateurs and like big tournaments, I always place in the top 3 or even top 4. And I told myself, once I'm 18, I'm gonna go pro, make all this money. Obviously, reality hits, and it's obviously tougher. So my advice is, if you don't have a good promoter or someone that's gonna manage your career, just make sure you work. Or get a good education to get a good job. And when you fight, obviously, train hard, like it's your full-time job. Don't half-ass training. Just you gotta train hard. Because I always say boxing should always be Plan B. Plan A, obviously, you should have a good job or a good education to get a good job, and boxing should be Plan B. But that doesn't mean you have to half-ass training. You always have to train hard, extremely hard, like it's your full-time job. And once you make it, great. That's beautiful. Um, but if you have someone that signed you for boxing, then obviously that's your main focus. But it's just a little harder when you have a family and you have a full-time job. It can be done. I don't want people to think that it can't be done, because they can be done. It's just sometimes it's just a little harder. You know what I mean? Don't have too many kids like myself, because your mind starts going everywhere, and you want to do what's best for your family.
Jose, I will leave that there, like I said, and I will leave you now to enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy retirement. Obviously, enjoy the coming months and the years ahead that you have. I'm sure I'll keep in touch, and I'm sure I'll speak to you again soon. Thank you for your time, and thank you for speaking to Boxing Social.
Hey, thanks, man. You have a good morning and have a good one.